everyone, depending on where you are. And thank you for joining us for our first Retrouv'I Summit New Year, New You. And so it's a two-part summit. We're doing the first part today, which is the Bye-Bye 2021 part. And then next part will be in January, and that will be about welcoming 2022. And we're gonna talk tonight about self-image, nutrition, spirituality, and mindfulness. And we hope that you're gonna enjoy our little event. Just to give you a brief background, so we launched Retrouv'I just a few months ago, and we are all certified health coaches from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And we thought that getting together would be more interesting for our clients and also like more fun for us rather than just doing health coaching on our own. And that's how we came up like putting our efforts together with Retrouv'I. Also, everybody is still doing its own things. And yeah, maybe I will let everybody introduce themselves. I can start. So I'm Céline, and I'm the founder of Retrouv'I. I used to be based in London. Now I'm in France, and I've certified not long ago, but I've been interested in nutrition and health for a long time. I've done energy healing and chakra work, and I like working with busy people like me who want to improve and like find more time to bring like healthier habits in their lives. And then we have Tina.
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, I'm Tina. I'm currently based in Buenos Aires, but usually I live in Europe, Austria. I'm just getting my health coach certification, which is why I won't be presenting today, but hopefully next time. And I'm focusing a bit more on nutrition and breathwork meditation. So this will be kind of where I'll be heading in the future.
And then we have Monica.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm Monica. I'm based in Rome. And Celine and I studied together at IIN, and we connected right at the very beginning, became accountability partners. And I'm so happy to be here with you. My focus is helping women improve their health, increase their energy, and invigorate their lives. And specifically, I want to help mothers do these things. And I have also been inspired, and I have been trying to lead a very healthy life for many years and love exercise and movement and incorporating any aspect to increase one's fulfillment in life. Thank you.
We have Joanna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joanna. I'm based in Los Angeles. I was lucky enough to meet Celine through a different business course that we were taking, and really happy to be here with all of you and these amazing coaches. I am a trauma-informed embodiment coach, so I use somatic experiencing and sound healing. And specifically, I work with highly sensitive people to help them shed doubt, anxiety, and imposter syndrome.
And then we have Margot.
Hello, everybody, or aloha. I am based in Hawaii, and I am a health coach that specializes in helping people disconnect from technology and redefine their relationship with technology so that they can be present and build personal connections. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to give you like a brief overview of the approach that we are taking, like we're talking about like holistic health and what does it mean. So like we have like 4 like buckets: heart, body, mind, and soul. And we use what we call the circle of life. So really to show that we're actually like not just one area of your life that needs to be in balance, but that's really like health is really about a lot of different parts, and that includes nutrition, fitness, environment, but also relationships, love, self-image, spirituality, creativity, community, and education, finances, and career. So when we work with people, or even tonight during this event, we're really looking at various areas of life and not really focusing on just one area. So that's our approach, and we can start digging in right now with Monica and self-image. Monica, you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Thumbs up. Okay, great. So do you see the image in front of you? Do you see the slides? Great. Okay, so take a moment to reflect on this image. Do you see the image that this cat sees in the mirror? Think about the self-image that you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. Do you see a lion, or do you see a mouse, a meek mouse? Close your eyes for 1 second and think about the image that you have. Okay, so I want to give you a brief introduction to what self-image is. And if we could see the next slide, please. Okay, this is a definition. Self-image is how you perceive yourself. It is a number of self-impressions that we have built up over time. These self-images can be very positive, giving a person confidence in their thoughts and actions, or negative, making a person doubtful of their capabilities and ideas. So as we grow up, all of our experiences really shape not only who we become, but how we think about ourselves. Can we look at the next slide, please? And so we have grown up learning about self-esteem, right? And according to Deepak Chopra, self-esteem is related to our internal feelings about ourselves. And self-image, on the other hand, is more related to the image we want to project outwardly. So when you think about yourself and the connection that these two make, it boils down to your image that you have, and not only that, but also the potential that this has. So if you see yourself as someone, for instance, lazy, that doesn't like to work out, by constantly thinking about this image of yourself, you will not be so inspired to go out and work out. You will say, okay, I'm lazy, I don't work out. And even if you may feel like working out or going for a hike or just going for a walk, your self-image is so embedded in your self-conscious that you are auto-suggesting this constant idea that you don't want to go work out. On the other hand, if you think about yourself as someone that's very active and energetic and is open to new activities, then you will be more willing to go out. And here we have the example of this. A person with high self-image is an individual that tends to be more confident and try new things. They're more likely to feel proud of their accomplishments and can deal with mistakes in a healthy way. Whereas a person with low self-image is someone that's very critical and they feel they aren't as good as others. And they also tend to focus more on their failings more than on the things that they do well. So it's really important that we focus on this internal dialogue that we have with ourselves, and we start being grateful for what we have, right? So I want to give you some food for thought. Think about the things that you like about yourself. I know it's really easy for us to focus on the negatives of ourselves. Maybe they were embedded as children, right? As children, we are told no so many times. So it's important that we change the chatter, we change the conversation that is in our mind, and we start focusing on the positives. So we can see the next slide, please. Thank you so much for changing it initially. So yeah, so how do we focus on those positives? We start by thinking about the things that we like about ourselves. And here's a really helpful tip. Journal about things that you really like about yourself. Start by journaling 5 things that you like about yourself. And they can be either physical, like my arms feel so strong and I really like how they can help me carry my groceries or my bags or the weights, right? Or strong legs, or think about other qualities that you have as a human being, like how compassionate you are, how genuine you are, how empathetic you can be. So if you can address and journal 5 things that you like about yourself on a daily basis, you will be focused more on the gratitude and improve your self-image. And then another thing is to consider is, how do you speak to yourself? Do you speak to yourself the same as you speak to others? What is your internal dialogue? The research has shown that we don't speak to ourselves as kindly as we do to others. In fact, if we spoke to others the way we would speak to ourselves, we wouldn't have any friends, right? So it's important that we start changing the dialogue within our mind. And whenever we hear those thoughts go by, try to interrupt them, acknowledge that they're there, and change the dialogue. So instead of saying, oh, I'm always late, no, I'm working and improving my self-management skills. So think about that. And also, another question, do you treat yourself? What do you do to show yourself self-love, right? We always display kinds of acts of kindness to others, but it's important that we focus on doing these for us too. You know, after you successfully run a marathon or a half marathon, or you finish the week of work, do you get yourself a massage? Do you reward yourself either with food or with acts of kindness? What about a foot bath or just a 10-minute meditation? Those can do wonders to our self-image, right? And to our overall sense of worth. And do you have healthy boundaries? Is another good question. Are you afraid to say no to others? Are you constantly trying to please others instead of pleasing yourself? Do you stretch yourself too thin in the things that you do for others? This is something to consider. Can I see the next slide, please? And here are some tips on how to improve your self-image, okay? Be your authentic self. Everyone else is already taken, just be yourself. It comes more naturally, and the more you show up authentically as you, the easier things will be. And you'll see that people really like you because you're very unique and you have unique gifts to offer to the world. Avoid self-criticism. You know, it's important. Meditation really helps in grounding us and allowing those thoughts to flow and changing the thought patterns. Smile at yourself when you look in the mirror. I don't know if you've heard about Mel Robbins' latest book, but it's high five. High five yourself in the mirror. You'll see how things change, right? Journal, as I mentioned before. Wear clothes that flatter you and bring you joy. Think of Marie Kondo. It's important that whatever you have in your house and whatever you wear gives you joy. Be nice to yourself. And make time for self-care. Do more of what you love. If you love hiking, schedule that in. Make sure that you get at least 5 to 10 minutes of movement every day. Mood follows movement, and you will see how definitely true this is. When we exercise, we release endorphins, and those are happy hormones. We'll feel wonderful after we work out. And last but not least, get a good night's sleep. research shows that we are severely lacking in sleep. So you can definitely incorporate some habits to allow you to go to sleep earlier, remove electronics from your bedroom, turn off screens 1 or 2 hours before bedtime, relax with a book or journal before bed. There's so many things that you can do to really focus on getting a better night's sleep. And before we conclude this section, I want to read a little poem to you. So I would invite you to close your eyes, please. And I will read this to you. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frighten us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, handsome, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to manifest glory, and that is all within us. It is not just in some, but it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, so we'll move on to Celine, who will be presenting us something on nutrition.
Thank you. And just one note, we'll do Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, or if you want to go back to anything that we've said, we have time for that at the end. Okay, let's go into nutrition. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So just a bit of background here. So first of all, when we think about nourishment, actually nourishment is not just nutrition. Nourishment is really everything that feeds your body, soul, heart, and mind. So that's why we have this circle of life that we talked about earlier. And nutrition is actually just one piece of the puzzle. And a lot of time, we focus a lot on nutrition, and we put too much pressure on it. And it's good to really put it back into perspective and see, of course, how important it is, because everything comes from the gut. But at the same time, not stress too much about it, because at the end of the day, when you really listen to yourself and listen to your body, you will realize quickly that you actually know what you need, and you actually know what's good for you and what's not good for you. And when you start trusting your instinct, nutrition becomes an easy part and not the difficult and very controversial issue that it is at the moment. Today, when you think about nutrition, it's kind of a mess. There's a lot of things that are said, and a lot of the opposite things that are said too. So in our approach, one thing that is also important is bioindividuality, which means that one person's treat can be another's poison. And that's an important principle, because maybe a certain type of diet will work for you and actually won't work for someone else. So it's good to be kind and approach nutrition in a kind way. A lot of time, nutrition can be like a very passionate topics, and people, and it's like politics in a family dinner. Nutrition in a family dinner can really bring the worst of people, and people arguing about why don't you eat meat and why don't you eat this, and can be very overwhelming. So there's not one size fits all, like people who try to sell us a magic diet, or it's like a magic pill, doesn't work, and really being conscious of that. However, if we can go to the next slide, please. However, it's not because there's not a one size fits all that there are not some like basic principles. So that's why we have this this balanced plate image. So we'll see, like in this balanced plate, we have, of course, at the center of the plate, the things to eat, and we still have, you know, with our like holistic approach around relationship, spirituality, career, and physical activity, which are really part of the overall nourishment thing. So in this plate, it's actually like a good tool, and really helps when you try to like cook for yourself, or you want to eat something and you don't really know how to balance the things in your plate. Having this like balanced plate in mind helps you, you know, like you can position the things in your plate, and it really gives you an idea of the proportions in which you can eat like each of the things. So you have like half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it is whole grains, like a bit more than a quarter, and a quarter of it is protein. And with all these elements, you should be fine and healthy. Um, Whole grains, so it's everything. It's like rice, it's starch vegetables, it's the like beans and that kind of stuff. Protein can come either from like vegetal proteins or animal proteins. Um, it doesn't matter too much. And then you have your fruits and vegetable, with vegetables being a bit more than fruits because of the sugar in the fruits. And then you have like a lot of water, and you have also some fats and oils. So fats and oils are not um, are necessary. Now you have different types of fats. You have good fats and you have bad fats. If you fry everything, that's bad fat, and that doesn't really enter in this little yellow circle. If you use olive oil or eat avocado, eat nuts, that's good. That's good fat. That's good oils, and that's something that's great for your diet too. Now, if we go on to the next slide. So when we think of food, and when we think about nutrition, we think about what we put in our plate, but we don't always think about what is our relationship with food. Why do we put this or that into our plate? So just wanted you to like take a moment to reflect on those questions. So what is your relationship with food? Do you like eating? Is it something enjoyable for you, or is it something that you have to do? Are you eating because you like it and you really enjoy your plate, you take pleasure for it, or you're kind of feeling forced to eat, or you're even stressing when you're eating because you're scared of not eating the right thing, or like I don't know, getting fat because of what you're eating? So what is your relationship with food? And depending on what is your relationship with food, take also a moment to think about why, you know, like why is it that you have that relationship with food? Is it something that you were told when you were younger, or is it because of the what you hear about in the media? Or try to think about that, and I'm sure it's gonna help like decreasing the level of stress or anxiety that you might have when it's time to eat. Another question is, when do you eat? You know, sometimes we eat because your colleague is bringing you cookie and you're not hungry, but hey, there are cookies on the table. Or like these offices where you always have like food in the kitchen, and just when you randomly pass through the kitchen, you eat something because it's there. So when do you eat? Do you eat when you're hungry, or when you're angry as well? Like, do you eat to like calm yourself down, and are you using food as a comforter or not? And if you're using food, like I think it's really like something very common to a lot of people, and maybe even more women, like when things are not really well with us, or when we're a bit sad, or we tend to go to the sweet things and like eat a little something to like please us. So is it what we're doing? And all of these questions, there's no judgments around it. It's just to make you aware. So next time you say, oh, I really want to have like some chocolate brownie right now, you can think about it and say, okay, why do I want this chocolate brownie? Is it because I really want it because chocolate is good for magnesium and I need a bit of magnesium? Or is it because I feel a bit stressed, so I think the chocolate brownie will do the trick and ease my stress? And then do you force yourself to eat even if you don't want to? Like, I don't know about you, but my grandma, she doesn't like to have rest. So like food remaining. So when we have lunch or dinner, she tries to force the remaining food to people to make sure that there's nothing left. So do you try to please people and say, yes, I'm going to finish this plate, whereas you're not hungry anymore? That's another thing to think about. And then with who and where do you eat? So this also really goes with how you enjoy your food. Do you eat alone at your desk or do you eat with your colleagues? Do you eat in front of the TV or sharing your day with your friends or family? So in which conditions are you when you're eating? Because that also impacts your digestion. And then what are your favorite dishes? What do you like to eat? And like, what do you truly and meaningfully like to eat? Not, like this quick satisfaction for eating a burger and then like you feel bad after it. Like what brings you really joy? The same with the self-image, like what clothes are you wearing that brings you joy? What food do you eat that really brings you joy? And why? There are foods that brings us good memories. And for me, being French, like crepes is something that brings me joy because it makes me think about my country when I'm not there. It makes me think about my family, things we're doing with my daughter. So that's a very good treat for me. So what is your treat, and what's your relationship between your memories and the food that you like and the satisfaction that it brings you? And then try to notice more and more, like, what do you feel after eating something, and is it bringing you satisfaction? Like, how are you happy about it? And you will see, like, most of the time your body knows what's good for it, and it's gonna tell you once when you eat something that it likes and that is good for it. So try to listen to that voice and to use that voice to make the choices that are healthy for you. Then if we can have the next slide, please. So how to improve your nutrition. So I don't think anything here will be like a surprise to anyone, but hey, it's always good to have a little reminder. So like how to improve your nutrition. So less processed food. Why? Because there are chemicals in there. There are added sugar, added hormones or whatever that are not good for you. So home cooked is always better. And home cooked can be a pain. Like when you have to cook, it can be a pain. Like I'm not gonna lie, but it can be also something very enjoyable and pleasant, especially when you can cook with someone and you've been to the market and you cooking what you brought from the market. Try to make it as much as you can an enjoyable experience, and not only just like I have to cook because we have to have something to eat tonight. Then less soda, more water. Water is good. Less coffee, alcohol, cigarettes, more herbal tea or green tea. Less meat. So no, again, I know we have some vegetarians here, but less meat, it's good for the planet, but less meat is also good for your body, especially these days with the quality of the meat that we have. We need to be careful with that. And more veggies, more fruits every day. You need your dose of vegetables and fruits. if you don't like eating veggies and fruits, make soups, do smoothies, so you can put in there like 5 easily in one smoothie. Less dairy and carbs, more legumes and nuts. A handful of nuts per day is really good. It's rich in like healthy fat. It's good for your brain as well. So nuts are good to include in your diet. If it's not there yet. Legumes the same. You know, if you look at the at the at the studies from the blue zones, the areas where people live the longest, all of these population eat a lot of grains. And then the environment where you are eating. Are you eating, so less eating in front of TV or computer and more eating with loved ones and taking your time to chew, taking your time to eat. That's helping your digestion as well and taking pleasure. Overeating, so try to eat only when you're hungry. If you're not, don't eat, it's fine. You know, like there's this perception that if you don't eat, it's not good. If you're not hungry, it's fine. If you're not hungry for 5 days, that's a concern. But if one day you don't feel hungry, it's okay. Eat until you're 80% full. Why? Because by the time that your stomach tells to your brain that you're full, there's like there's a little amount of time there. So if you eat when you feel you're 18% full, it means that you're actually 100% full, but the message hasn't come to your brain yet. And then less calorie counting. Calories are not equal, so at the end, calorie counting is not always useful, but instead enjoying every mouthful and really enjoying your food. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine, for this passionate talk about nutrition. So we'll move on to Margot, who will talk about spirituality.
Hello, everyone. Monica and Celine, great job. I love both of your presentations. So I'm here to talk about spirituality. You can go to the next slide if you can. So when I started preparing for this talk, I watched lectures, I listened to podcasts, I read books, and I started feeling more and more overwhelmed that I could not fit this topic into a 10-minute organized presentation with a thesis at the end, summing up everything you need to know about spirituality. And then I called my 89-year-old grandfather, who has been a spiritual mentor for me in my life. And he said, spirituality is ever growing. It is not supposed to fit into a box. And that's part of it. He said you could spend the rest of your life exploring spirituality. And coming from an 89-year-old, he is still on his spiritual journey. So what I'm trying to say is, in this now less than 10-minute presentation, I'm not going to be able to answer long-awaited deep questions for you or tell you why we are on this earth. But what I want to do is give you the opportunity to reflect on your own spiritual discovery. And yeah, since it is new year, new you, and spirituality is part of the circle of life, we believe, just like Celine spoke about, we believe it is part of what feeds you. So and that's something that isn't on your plate. So let's dive in. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So there's no one definition to define spirituality. There are a range of ways, but this definition is from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And it is the awareness to a connection with something bigger than ourselves. It's the inner exploration to discover a deep sense of aliveness and connectedness. Spirituality focuses on soul or spirit rather than our physical or material selves. And it aims to answer the questions, who are we and what is our purpose? Next slide, please. So it is very important to note that spirituality is bio-individual. As Celine so well described, there is no one size fits all. Each person has their own experience with spirituality. So there's no right or wrong way, and overall, it focuses on the broader purpose for being here. Next slide, please. Now, these questions for reflection are not easy. It is a journey, and I'm at the beginning of my spiritual journey. So I'm just impressed if people are willing to talk about it. I have these questions, and I don't have any suggestions as to how you should answer it because it is an inward journey. Only you know the answers to these questions, and I am going to ask them, and feel free to write it out, think about it. I'll give you some time to think about it again, because I really want to emphasize that this is inward. No one else can answer this for you but yourself. So again, and these questions take a lot longer than minutes. Like I said, it could literally take 89 plus years of your life to answer. So we can start, and I'll ask one question, and if you want to think about it for a little bit. So yeah, what does spirituality mean to you? Yeah, feel free to write it out, type it out, think about it. A few more seconds here. And what spiritual practice resonates with you and uplifts you? If you don't have a practice, what brings you a sense of peace and inner purpose? I'm happy to share some things that I've found, but again, everyone has their own. So for me, it's being out in nature, it's exercise, it's meditation, it's being part of a community, family or not. Yeah, it's oh, nice. Celine, thank you for, or sorry, I thought you oh no, you did post that. Thank you. If anyone wants to write that in the chat too, love to see it. Being connected with others, nature, the environment. I love that. Monica, meditation and prayer. Celine, trapeze, meditation, yoga, being in nature, talking and inspiring with people. Oh, I love these. Yay. Amazing. Oneness, Joanna, I literally wrote that down. I wrote being one. That is so cool. Yay. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Definitely being in movement, Monica says. Connecting with higher power. Claudia says mindfulness. I love it. Yes. Wow. Well, awesome. Last question is, are there any practices you are inspired to try? Maybe it's something that's in our group, in our chat here. It's something that I'm going to think about. All right. Anyway, I know there's a lot we can, oh, sound healing from Joanna. Celine says, yes, me as well. I think that would be really a beautiful experience, spiritual experience. Awesome. Well, my last well, first of all, I just want to say I find the discovery incredibly exciting, and I think I hope you do too. This is a journey, and there's so much to learn and to grow, as my grandfather said. So get excited, and I hope you're excited, because I really am. And yeah, I wanted to leave you with this quote. This quote I heard on one of the things I watched, and by Wayne Dyer quoted this quote, and I was just, anyway, he's somebody who lives in Hawaii, so anyways, another spiritual experience I could talk about another day. But he quoted, "We are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience." Yeah, totally. This totally sparked my thinking about spirituality and left me inspired. So I hope it does the same for you. And yeah, anyway, I also Mandy just reached out and said that her spiritual practice is family, friends, connection, exercise, and cooking. So it looks like everything's all very intertwined here, and I love, again, just the exploration. So anyway, thank you all for listening, and I hope you are able to start to think, or maybe you've been thinking for a while about spirituality, but it's an ongoing journey. So anyway, thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you, Margot. That was beautiful. And I think, yes, we're reaching the last topic with Joanna, and she will talk about education, but more specifically about mindfulness. So, Joanna?
Yeah, hi everybody, and thank you presenters for your awesome presentations. You can go to the next slide. And so just as I mentioned before, my name is Joanna, also known as Ritual Vibration on social media, and I'm a trauma-informed embodiment coach. And the tools I mainly use are somatic experiencing and sound healing practices. And all this combined is meant to empower highly sensitive empaths in shedding self-doubt, anxiety, imposter syndrome, so that you can gain the confidence in asking for what you want, setting healthy boundaries, finding deep, meaningful connections, and joyfully sharing your gifts with the world. And part of the reason why I decided to do this work is because I experienced chronic anxiety, mysterious health issues, fatigue, depression, toxic relationship cycles, and feeling unfulfilled for many years of my life. And then it wasn't until 2019, when I had a breast cancer diagnosis, that I intuitively knew that I was being given a very clear message from my body that, number one, we needed to work together, and number two, I needed to start prioritizing my own mental, physical, spiritual wellness. And I also decided that life is just too precious to spend being unhappy or working on someone else's dream. I really wanted to make the most of my life and help other people. So after over a decade of embarking on my own journey, I finally learned real and practical tools to get me out of this hole. And to put this into perspective, the statistics show that 1 out of 5 people struggle with a mental health issue. And 7 out of 10 people have experienced enough trauma growing up that they're predisposed to having a chronic illness later in life. So yes, your mental wellness can actually impact your physical health, which is why it's really, they're both very important. And that may seem like a scary statistic, but the good news is we know that through many years of research, we can change our mental health and our patterns because of our plasticity in our brains. And in Buddhism, there's 7 qualities to enlightenment, and the very first step is mindfulness. So have you ever driven somewhere, you've been many times, and after you arrived at the destination, you thought, wow, like I don't even remember how I got here. So many of us go through our lives on autopilot, which is the opposite of mindfulness. We just get into our habits, we act unconsciously from thoughts and judgments without even being aware of why we think the things we think or why we're doing the things we're doing. We're just reacting, or we're just doing things we think we should do. We spend so much of our time and energy rehashing, rehearsing, wishing, hoping, planning, regretting, that we actually become disconnected to what is happening right now in our lives. And we want to be in this present moment, because when we are not living in the present moment, that means we're not feeling our feelings, and that just creates more of the emotions that we were trying to avoid in the first place. And it also doesn't solve the problem we are trying to solve or escape. So how do we keep from spiraling either into the future or into the past? It's realizing we have a choice and switching off the autopilot so that we can respond rather than react. And this all starts with gently and slowly coming back to our senses in our body. The present moment is where all possibilities exist. It's the only time we have a choice. And in China, the word for mindfulness is present heart. The good news also is anyone can learn to be mindful, and the more you practice it, the better you will get at it. So great, how do we start? Why aren't we all peaceful, loving humans practicing mindfulness? It's not because you're just not the mindfulness type or that you don't have the attention span to meditate. I know there's like a million things to do every day and lots of excuses why you can't be mindful or you can't do this, can't do that. But the secret is really in rewiring your nervous system so that you can become mindful more automatically and embody it. And that's where somatic mindfulness comes in. It's a method of incorporating your body's intelligence. And this is important because it's through your body that you discover your gifts. And yes, you have a gift, and everyone has one, and that is to be who you authentically are in the world. And we can only do this, though, if we have strong inner resilience. And we develop that resilience through somatic mindfulness. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. And I love this quote by Osho, if you're familiar with him. And mindfulness has ancient roots in Tantra, and Tantra seeks to obtain enlightenment not by renunciation of the body, but by really embracing the body and the full experience of living. And really feeling through all our senses, our desires, our feelings. And this is how we get that embodied connection to life. And mindfulness may seem really simple, but it's not always easy. And this is really because of the unavoidable trauma and chronic stress that can rob us of our ability to be in the present moment. What happens is that the threat response in our nervous system can get stuck either in the on or the off position. So we find ourselves automatically preoccupied with the past or projecting the past into the future. Okay, next slide. And I want to share one of my favorite parables from Buddhism that's called the two arrows. And so the parable of the two arrows is about how the first arrow is when anytime we suffer a misfortune, and that being struck by that arrow is going to be painful. But then there's always a second arrow. And the Buddha explained, in life we can't always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is our reaction to the first. The second arrow is optional. So I just want to ask, what do you think the second arrow is? If you want to write in the chat. Any guesses? So the second arrow can be criticism, judgment, shame, our perception and interpretation. It's our story that we have around the first arrow. And we can't avoid the first arrow. We can't avoid challenges and sadness in life, but what mindfulness does is help us avoid the second arrow, which is the optional suffering. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So now this is where we get into the nervous system, which is a huge topic, and I'm very passionate about talking about the nervous system because this is where the rewiring happens in our brains and in our body. So optional suffering occurs when we get stuck in our threat response mode, which is controlled by our primitive limbic brain. And you might have heard this referred to as the lizard brain. And primitive doesn't mean anything bad. It doesn't mean worse. It just means it was first. That's the first part of our brains that developed. And when we feel stress or we experience trauma, we actually lose contact with our prefrontal cortex, which is the most recently evolved part of the brain, which controls our executive functioning and making decisions. So if we are stuck in a pattern, we literally can't access that evolved part of the brain. We're just relying on our body to make the choices for us. And unless we practice mindfulness and embodiment, we won't be able to control how our body reacts. And just to briefly go over, there's 3 states of what we call the autonomic nervous system, which is the automatic nervous system, which controls basically all the functions in our body. It controls our heart rate, our breathing, our digestion. And luckily, we don't have to think about any of these things. They just happen automatically. But what we can do, since we can't control it, is we can track where we are in our nervous system and which state that we're in. And we can give support to our body so that it can come back into this middle window, which is what we call the calm aliveness state. And this state is where we can feel connected to people. This is where we feel present, we feel curious and more creative. And it's the I could state of I could do this or I could do that. You have a choice. And what happens is your nervous system is constantly scanning your environment for cues of safety and cues of danger. It's a biological response, And it's there to prepare your body to react in one of three ways, which is fight, flight, or freeze. So what happens is in our daily life is our body actually doesn't differentiate between an emergency life or death situation, like say a lion about to attack, and an everyday stressor, such as sitting in traffic, financial stress, relationship problems. Your body actually reacts the same exact way. So working with the body mindfully and intentionally with an experienced practitioner gives you tools to recognize when your nervous system is going into a state of anxiety or overwhelm, and allows you to create the space and capacity to respond in the way that you decide is most helpful, instead of really overreacting or shutting down. Okay, and next slide, please. So how do we support our nervous system so that we can become more mindful and in the present moment? There are many, many ways, and this is going to be individual to each person. So what you want to do is to try a lot of different strategies and techniques and see which are the most helpful for your nervous system. And these are a few that I personally use and find very helpful. And really, you can't guess at these things. You have to actually physically do them and then observe how your body reacts. And so just to talk about some of the benefits of somatic mindfulness, we've seen through years of scientific research and studies that these practices over time naturally improve our focus, clarity, connects us to our inner wisdom, gives us emotional resilience, and can help us even recover from addiction. It helps our immune response and so much more. And once we can use mindfulness to suspend our judgment and unleash our creativity, that's when we become true creators of our reality. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Joanna. Another really interesting and I think very important part of the circle of life, and those four aspects that we talked about in this session, covering the body, mind, soul, and heart. So thank you again to the four presenters and health coaches. I think we could all feel, at least I did, that everyone has a personal story and a personal experience to these areas. And we will see in the next session as well that, you know, everyone has something to tell about whatever we talk about, whether we're still in the progress of learning about it and on a journey, but everyone has some sort of connection to it, and I think that's beautiful. So yes, we prepared this workbook in advance, so you can obviously go back now and kind of think about your own state or your own happiness in those areas and where you can improve things. And we will also have a little bit of time left. If you have any questions now, please feel free to unmute and ask us anything.
No questions from me, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for this presentation. I really appreciated the variety of topics spoken about, and I really liked the concept of the circle, and health means a lot of different things to different people. So it gave me a lot to think about and where I think I'm doing well and what I think where I can go to improve. So I just wanted to convey my thanks again for this. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Amanda. And I think as well, we could have talked on and on and on. So a 10 minutes limit is a bit difficult to talk about such broad areas. And yeah, so you can
Did we lose Tina?
yes,
Yeah, we lost,
sorry.
you're back. You're back.
Dilemma of internet calls. But sorry. So yes, on January 9th, we can then discuss the other topics. And we hope to see you again then. Feel free to, as I said, reflect, come back with more questions, unless you have some now. And Celine, do you want to finish off?
I actually want to ask everybody something, like, if you have like one takeaway from tonight's call, like what would it be? Like, you can type it on the chat, like what would be your takeaway? My takeaway personally is that it's this bio-individuality principle, and that you need to try. And sometimes, like some of these principles, Joanna was mentioning meditation and mindfulness, and there are so many ways to do meditation, and maybe one way is not going to work with you and another way is going to work with you. So don't get discouraged, because yeah, maybe one yoga teacher like won't do it for you, but then another one would be amazing. So yeah, don't get discouraged and just give it a try. Try it a few times with different scenarios and give it a try. I saw Amanda said something, health is an individual journey and meditation takes practice. And I should try again. Yeah, exactly. And then Claudia said, thanks so much. Those were incredibly insightful presentations. And Antonia said, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. Time to reflect. Takeaway from Claudia, spirituality is a much wider field than I was aware of. I had a very narrow definition. And Antonia, try to live more in the moment. Great. Well, thank you so much all for coming. And yeah, if you have any questions in the meantime, contact us. We have the Instagram account at Retrouv'I and the Facebook account. We're gonna send you the replay and put the replay. We're probably gonna put it on Facebook, so you can also watch it there. Next part will be, as Tina said, on January 9th, same time. So we hope to see you there. And in the meantime, have a great end of the year season, great holidays. And tonight is the new moon. So it's actually a really good time to do your reflection and letting go of things and starting new. So have fun. And thank you so much for coming. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.